20 candidates vying for the White House will appear at the first Democratic debate in the 2020 presidential run this week, and a likely focus during Wednesday and Thursday's debates will be race and civil rights. At an emotional town hall last night, South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg heard from angry constituents after police-involved shooting left a black man dead last week. CBS News chief congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes has the latest.
We have tried but not succeeded to increase diversity in the police department, and we need help.
At home in South Bend, Indiana, Buttigieg was confronted by accusations of bias in his city's police force.
Y'all got racism inside of y'all police department. How are we supposed to trust this? I am raising a 7-year-old grandson that when he sees the police, he is afraid. That is not what's supposed to happen.
Racial tensions flared last week after a white South Bend police officer shot and killed a black man who was allegedly holding a knife. The officer was wearing a body camera, but it was not turned on.
If anyone who is on patrol is shown to be a racist or to do something racist in a way that is substantiated, that is their last day on the street.
Buttigieg dropped off the campaign trail after the shooting last week.
I just think it's my job. I don't know if it's smart or not. I don't know if it's strategic or not. But it's my city.
There's not a racist bone in my body.
Race has been a central issue on the trail, too. Democrats are still chewing over former Vice President Joe Biden's boast last week that he found ways in Congress to compromise with segregationist senators, even if he disagreed with them.
Praising and coddling individuals who made it their life works and built their reputation off of segregation of the races in the United States. That's a problem.
In an article for Politico, contributing editor Adam Wren explains the 7-year history of tension between Mayor Pete and the black community in South Bend, Indiana. He joins us now from Indianapolis with more on your insight on this topic. Adam, thank you for joining us. In your article, you describe an exchange between Pete Buttigieg and protesters outside of the South Bend Police Department. Let's first take a listen to that.
Did you just ask me if Black Lives Matter?
Yes, we want to hear you say it.
Of course, Black Lives Matter.
Now fire your cops!
Well, the moment highlights the tensions between Buttigieg and the South Bend community. How has this impacted his campaign and the brand he's really built for himself out on the trail?
You know, we've seen Pete really sort of distinguish himself as someone who's a small-town mayor who can get stuff done, and he has more accountability in a situation like this than your average senator or, to some extent, even a governor. But this week, we've seen the otherwise cerebral, unflappable mayor show a little emotion there, as we saw in that clip. A little bit of anger, a little bit of confusion, and of sadness. So this moment is really a test for him, and it's really sort of exposing, how he would operate should he win the presidency in a similar crisis.
You know, when you hear people so angry, you wonder where it comes from. So you're shining a light on Buttigieg's time as mayor of South Bend, Indiana. How has he combated the divide, or has he, that exists between the black community and law enforcement prior to this most recent shooting?
That's right. You know, the anger and frustration that we're seeing from voters in this case goes back 7-8 years, even before Pete was in office. Essentially, in his time in office, after he fired the first African-American police chief ever to helm the department in South Bend, his relationship with the police department and blacks and Hispanics in the community have deteriorated. At the same time, during his time in office, his police department has become whiter and looks less like the actual city itself. South Bend is 40% non-white, with 26% of African Americans in the city, but his police department has gone from 10% minority staffed to 5% over the last 8 years. And there have been specific instances where these two officers involved in the shooting last Sunday, dating back to 2008 and 2009, have had adverse incidences with blacks in the community.
Well, there's been a statement released today by his press team saying, quote, "We have not done enough." How has he handled the fallout from this episode? And do you see this as maybe a critical test of his leadership?
Yeah, over the last couple of years, he's done a few things to try to make his police department more diverse and more friendly to African Americans and minorities. He's instituted bias training. He's instituted body camera policies. The body camera didn't work in this case. And he's also asked for the Department of Justice to come and investigate his police department. I think this comes at a critical moment in the campaign where he's trying to win over African-American voters and has made some progress doing that. But the national images that people are seeing from South Bend this morning and this afternoon as they watch television, voters around the country are really going to have a lot of questions for him. And it's likely to come up at the debate on Thursday night when he debates.
Adam Wren, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.